Welcome in. It is day 168, and you're speaking to the Meeples Champion. And Merry Christmas. As you all know, last night we did our Santa versus Krampus game. That was the only real Christmas game I had, and I figured for those of you who are interested in watching on Christmas Eve itself, I should give you something. Those of you who had to wait, you got to enjoy that hopefully today, and if not, possibly before New Year's. That being said, no Christmas for games today. Instead, we're giving you a little bit different of a view. We just recently had quite a big board game day. I had a bunch of my friends over. We pulled the table all around in the room, and we literally played games from 9 in the morning until 10 at night. So it was a blast, and I figured I would try out and do a few games from this angle with the table now having been shifted. See how it looks, see if everybody out there likes it. It may not matter that much. Probably going to end up back the way it was, but for now, let's try out a different angle. That being said, today we're going to be going into a smaller game. This is one I just played for the first time. I didn't love it, but I only played it at 2-player, and it can go as far as 4, so maybe I'll like it if I play it at a higher count. That being said, I definitely understand the game, and I wanted to go over it now while it's fresh in my mind. I just played it. That game is Sleep Tight. So, in Sleep Tight, the concept is that you and everybody else playing are representing kids, and you're all asleep. And in your dream, you're being attacked by the Sandman. Now, you have 3 things you can do. You can choose to be a group, and essentially all you're trying to do is outlast the Sandman when all the Sandman's cards are gone. If you have not had anybody die yet, then all the kids wake up as a group and you win as a team. However, you can also work to have an individual kid win. You're going to be gathering these tokens. And every time you get one, these tokens are essentially how you draw cards. They're how you take hits from the bad guys. Well, if you ever hit 10, then you'll be eligible. You'll still need to have drawn the card. But if you draw the alarm clock card, then you're going to use that alarm clock card the instant you have 10 of these. Show it. You've woken up, you've escaped the dream, everybody else has not, and you win by yourself. Or the other way to win is that there is a Sandman card. If you draw the card, you have to make a decision on the spot. Either you can discard the card immediately, everybody sees it, and you have to lose one of your tokens because you were hurt by denying the Sandman, or you accept, at which point you can either keep it secret, nobody knows you're working for the Sandman, and that means that you're going to have to try your best to basically kill off everybody else. You're working as a sleeper agent for the Sandman. However, if you are not revealed, you are susceptible to a bunch of his damage. So basically meaning whenever he attacks everybody, you take the hits. However, if you reveal the Sandman, things become a little bit different. Now, you're going to have the opportunity that when you use something that would hurt the Sandman, you can use it instead to hurt one of the other players. But when the other players hit the Sandman, the damage to him also hits you. So if they eliminate you, it doesn't help them. They're still trying to beat the Sandman. But you and the Sandman are now fully intact, and you can only win by making sure to wipe out all the kids. It's a really interesting little game. I didn't hate it, but it was one that I said, I think I need this at a higher count because it just kind of felt too repetitive. I didn't feel like I was 100% forced down a road, but I did feel like my options were kind of limited. It was an okay play, though, and I think that it definitely is deserving of being reviewed and to give you guys a little bit more perspective than just if I do or don't like the game, because the whole point of the 7 categories is that it's more than just a dislike of a game. It's allowing me to get a little bit more perspective there and show things that I didn't like in something, and that might make a decision for somebody else who goes, well, I tend to like the games he likes. However, it turns out most of the time when he likes a game, and this is the reason why, that's why I like it. So we'll see if these can help you guys out today. Let's jump right into it. When it comes to the art, I loved this art. The box is really nice. It's a small little box. It's very direct to what it is. The cards all follow this theme. It's really beautifully drawn. It's a big thumbs up. When it comes to those components, just like the art, I mean, this is top quality, really good cards. They definitely didn't skin share. They went all in. I really liked what they did here. When you have a smaller game, the hope is that they're not trying to just make every buck, that they're actually willing to commit and put a little effort into their game, and they definitely did. It's a thumbs up. When it comes to that price, so this was a newer game for me. Now, as far as I know, I've never seen this game before having played it. A friend of mine owns it. He let me borrow it. I don't think I've ever seen it in a Target or at a Barnes& and Noble. My assumption would be, based on conversations with other people who have played it, it's available. It's just not massively available. So I would assume you're going to find this in one, maybe 2 out of 5 board game stores. It's definitely online. It's just, you're not going to find this at your big games only stores. And at your average store, you're still not going to find it all the time. I think you need to have a smaller section, and that's really where it's going to be. When you're finding those, stores that focus on card games, this is even one you might find in Newberry Comics. This is definitely a Newberry Comics style of, we want to put this on our shelf. So that's the kind of stuff I would expect from them. On top of that, price-wise, this game's in that 20 range, maybe as high as 30, but I would say it's probably 20, maybe 25-ish more likely. And I think for that price, you're getting an okay game, and it's all up to what you're really trying to get out of the game. If I was thinking back to when I was a college student and we were first starting to get games and it was just a very small little collection I had, I think that the art of this and the excitement of working together and then betraying each other would have been more exciting to me. As I've gotten older, I've pushed those types of games away and I've shifted more towards the face up, you know what everybody's doing, but you're all competing with each other type games. So I think this is definitely one I would say, you know, early players, people who really like theme, who like not party game, but interactive games is where it falls. Overall, though, I think that for the price, I have to give it the thumbs up because it's not too expensive. And I feel like it definitely, for that beginner level and for the younger aged, people in that college, just out of college age, it's really hitting strong. And for those of us who are older, it's not like it hits me, but it hits others. I have friends who really liked this game. So I do think this is a good one for that area. Your difficulty. So the game isn't too difficult. You're definitely, going back and forth. You're bouncing, who's doing better. Is it me? Is it going to be the Sandman? Is it my opponent who doesn't realize I'm trying to wipe them out? Are we trying to work as a team, or is only one of us and the other one they don't realize is after them? Is somebody actually working with the Sandman, or are they just trying to wake up first? So in that regards, it's a little bit of, a lot of mechanics and thought process. But for me, that wasn't too difficult. I would say that's fine. The difficulty comes in with the rule book. It was a tough one. This game had been left in a box of games that was initially intended to be one of my Halloween games, that a friend gave me a bunch of really good themed games for it. And I never got a chance to play it because I wasn't able to play with my friends. The reliance was on me learning to play a game by myself or with my wife at the house. Well, by myself, I just didn't have the time. So if my wife and I were going to sit down, was the only chance I'd really have a chance to sit there and play a new game. But after having played this with the person who let me borrow it, I can tell you right now, it never would have happened. The reason being was it took 2 of us to decipher this rulebook. And my wife loves games. She kicks my butt at them 90% of the time. But when it comes to learning the game, that's where I come in. I'm the one who really, either between the rulebook or the how to plays or the playthroughs online, I'm the one that takes the time and learns a game and then teaches it. And I think I end up teaching the game so much that I end up kind of sacrificing the ability to win, because a lot of time, she'll make a move and I'll help her. So she is great at learning a game. She's a fantastic student when somebody who knows what they're doing is playing the game with them and helping her. And then eventually, 1, 2, 3 plays in, she doesn't need your help anymore. She knows what she's doing and she's off on her own. But she's not the type to watch a video or to read the rule book. So it would have been me on my own, and on my own, I don't know if I would have had the patience for this rule book. I think I would have given up. We had gotten through a few rounds before we finally thought we knew what we were doing, restarted the game, and then again during it had a few moments of just being like, what did we just do? So it's a tough rule book. I am pretty hard on these things, and I'm going to be straight up. If it wasn't for that rule book, this would be a thumbs up. But for the rule book alone, it's a thumbs down. You need to work hard on your rule book. You need to make things clear. You need to make things obvious. They had symbols on pieces that when I look in the rule book, they were not with the symbol area, or they were somewhere random, or they looked slightly different. There were spelling mistakes and word changes. So you were reading a sentence and the sentence didn't make sense. And we eventually had to realize, like, oh, they meant this word, not that word. They wrote something that looks similar, but it's not the right word. Things that should have been caught during the editing process, not to the point where it was horrendous, but to the point where it was like we found probably 3 good mistakes on the words, and those mistakes made it really tough reading through the rule book. We weren't sure what the sentences meant. We had to take the time to decipher it and kind of figure that out. So for me, that's a big no-no. And when that happens in a game, it's a game I don't recommend based on difficulty. So again, that's a thumbs down. Replayability. So the replayability on this game is that if you can figure it out, it's a quick game. And it's definitely one you can play a few times in a row. Now, I think this game is going to be one that, realistically, if you were to say to me, do you want to play this again? I'm not against it, but I would hold out and say, this is a Halloween game. This is a game I'm pulling out probably sometime in September and putting away right around Halloween night. And that's going to be the 2-month run that it gets, because it'll be thematic, it'll be fun. I can play games with friends or family at that time. This might be one that when my daughter gets to a certain age where I don't feel like the game will scare her or give her, the bad ideas to let her have fun during, but then get nightmares. So maybe when she's 7 or 8ish, this is a game I could see us playing like every night before bed during that time frame because we're in the Halloween mood. So I think it has plenty of replayability. That's a thumbs up. Your keys to victory. So again, we already kind of went over this. Do you want to work together and get out? If you do, you got to make sure that you're working hard to hold on to your life force, but get through your cards to get cards that can attack the Sandman. Are you having one of you try to escape before the other? Well, you're going to have to make sure that you're working to get that clock card and to commit to getting up to the 10, which means you have to work on getting the right cards to move up, but you try not to spend too much life force to get the right cards to give you extra life force because you could die before you get to use them. Are you trying to work for the Sandman? If you are you revealed or not revealed? There are plenty of options here. I think it's a high thumbs up on that area. Is it unique? That's a good question. You think about the concept of the game. I think that there are some other dream type games with that theme. So I don't think the theme is unique. And I think that there are plenty of games where the concept is like people working to fight a small monster. The life force, the way they use it, I've seen this before. I can't remember the exact game, but I know I've seen it. So I don't know that I can say this is fully not unique. Definitely, it feels it when you're thinking about the art, but the art shouldn't determine if a game's unique. It's an amazing art that feels very unique to me, but it's about the gameplay. And the gameplay, well, I don't think it's a mimic of anything else. I don't feel it stands alone and by itself. I feel like it falls into that small card game type area. It falls under the people who like the dreaming type games, the nightmare type games, the games about the boogeyman and the Sandman and these Halloween themed scary monster games. And it almost, in a way, even though they didn't set it up this way, it in a way, and it's maybe this is part of why I don't like it, has kind of that feel of a tower defense. It is not a tower defense by any means, but the concept of you're not fighting the Sandman, you're fighting the Sandman's scary nightmares. And so every time that you get there, there are nightmares coming out. Well, that's the same idea as the constant stream of the bad guys coming during a tower defense game. And then you're trying your best to protect your border. Well, in this case, the border would be your life force. And you can let people get closer as you're trying to save up and get something better out there. So if we're trying to spend life force to get something better in our hands, that's the same risk as Well, instead of putting down all my crappy cards, I'm going to let them get a lot closer so I can save up my money and be able to put down a really powerful card and hopefully get it down in time and be able to have it result in, yeah, they're 3 turns closer to me than they should be, but on turn 4 and 5, now they're further behind than they would have been before. So that's kind of what it reminds me of as far as the feeling I'm getting for why I don't like the game. So I just can't give it unique. And I'm sure there's other games I can give a much better perspective on this with, but for me, it's got to be a thumbs down. Overall, what do I think of this game? I don't personally love it, but that's okay because I don't think it's a bad game. I just don't like it. I do think it's a beautifully drawn game. I do think it's a cool concept of a game. And I do think there are plenty of you out there who are going to see this game and say, oh, I was looking for something small that I could play around Halloween, or I just like those darker games. And this will hit huge for you. So don't be afraid to do that. Go all out. Pick it up if you want. I think that this game is perfectly fine to own. If you like it, you like it. And if you don't, you don't. Well, it has been day 168, and we've been speaking about the game Sleep Tight. And you've been speaking to the Meeples Champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description where I'll be adding an Amazon link in case you want to get this game for your collection. Until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow.